Well, thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. Good morning. It's an eventful day in the Indian listed space, so to say, because of the first professionally managed tech company coming out of an IPO. We'll talk about that extensively. But first, the global markets. And there was this inflation scare in the US, isn't it? I mean, all of you who probably remotely saw what happened last night in the US markets will understand this, that there was this the inflation numbers coming out the highest in whatever the growth multiple years, what have you, various statistics thrown out there. But quite interesting that this has happened, and quite unlike the last few times wherein the market was of the opinion that therefore the Fed will delay its measures and will not raise rates and will make sure that the economy sails through and all of that. That was under a bit of question yesterday. Bonds did rise, equities did fall. Is the market texture changing when it comes to reaction to inflation? Time will tell. I'm not a US markets expert, but it certainly looked like that yesterday. On the back of this, is Asia showing a bit of a risk off? You would have to ask. Well, with the US markets looking soft yesterday and the futures flat today, you would probably presume that Asia would not have a day or dash out in the green. So that is almost an unequivocal no. You probably have most of the Asian bourses marginally in the red. There could be one or two in the green, but most of the Asian bourses marginally in the red. Now, we've had a very good run the last couple of days for the Nifty. It'll be interesting to see what the SGX Nifty is indicating and what do we do during the course of the day. So about 51 odd points lower, which is not a big deal. Mind you, there is no catastrophe in the world markets as well. It's just one print. We haven't heard from the Fed. All that we've heard from the Fed till now has always been that we will continue on our stance. So no changes necessary there. I'm just telling you how the market reaction was yesterday in the way bonds move versus the equity markets move. Now, therefore, what to make out of this for our markets? That's the key question. Now, remember, as I said, we've had a fairly good run. If you just look at the MOE function, which shows the Nifty 500, advanced decline ratio, the kind of moves, etc. Yet again, fairly strong market, Brett. The movers which moved up did really well, and the capital market related plays did really well, isn't it? CDSL 15%, BSE up 10%. You had, and mind you, I mean, BSE, of course, is a bit of an illiquid stock as well. So some movers coming in or not, it's, some good buyers coming in with a large buy order, and the stock would tend to move. But I saw some of the brokerage names doing okay. Some of the textile names doing okay. MCX, another platform company, doing okay. So all of those did really well. What didn't do well was the winners of day before yesterday, the likes of Equitas, etc., all came off. You had Aegis Logistics announcing that large deal with a global company, and that one came off. So specific moves happened, but otherwise, largely, the move wasn't too negative. In fact, the mood was pretty positive yesterday, and I would presume that some of that might continue today. So the trade setup today, frankly, on the Nifty too, if you see the moves that happen, remove ICICI Bank and remove Reliance, and you probably might not have a great move on the index as well. It was a fairly lackluster move. A lot of individual portfolio components would have been down for more people. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out today. Brent moving up yesterday should aid recovery in the all upstream stocks. And why I say recovery is because yesterday too, we had a bit of an up move in the likes of ONGC, etc. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And this is my belief that the real estate stocks, which showed a bit of a corrective move yesterday, will not necessarily continue doing that. Any gashes in real estate, I think, will be bought into. So it'll be very interesting to see how realty stocks perform, not just today, but over the course of the next 2 or 3 sessions. Do they continue the corrective move, or do they come back with a bang? There are some interesting and important results today. The new kid on the block, Dodla Dairy, comes out with IPO, but technology, remember, as I've said, and L&T Tech, you could argue, is not a pure play tech IT services company, but L&T Tech, Infi, etc. So pretty interesting set of numbers there to come out. And the big one, Zomato, the IPO opens for subscription today. And therefore, which is why I said it's a bit of a landmark thing. Now I'll talk about Zomato at the end. I mean, frankly, there's just so much of information across platforms. We at BloombergQuint have done some very interesting work. So if you want a one source thing, my colleagues Nishant and Sajid have been trying to be on top of this. We've given you, there is enough and more stuff out there. In fact, we've done a section page on Zomato IPO. So if you log into our website and just go through, there is quite a bit of information out there, global peer comparison, what brokerages are saying, what have you. So you can log in and try and read more about this out there as well, if you want a one-stop shop, that is. But I would urge you that even if at my behest you are logging into BloombergQuint and trying to read about Zomato, try and go elsewhere as well to try and read as much as you can about this IPO. It's a bit of a landmark IPO, you have to admit. So it'll be interesting to see what Zomato does and the subscription does. The Anchor Book subscription tells you a story, doesn't it? Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. First, the stocks that you have to watch out for today. I want to focus on that first because that is the more important part, the more immediacy, and then we'll get on to Zomato as well. Mindtree, whatever people may have thought about what kind of numbers have TCS thrown up and the commentary thereof, Mindtree's numbers don't leave anything to be desired. Fabulous performance. Quarter on quarter, 7.7% growth, 2291 crores, PAT up 8.2% at 343 crores. So the numbers, very strong. Cash flows, strong. In fact, they closed in with the highest ever TCV of 504 million, which is up about 34.2% quarter on quarter, $500 million of TCV order book, which is actually pretty strong for Mindtree. So these are the things that actually make the stock do well today, I would presume. They added about 7 new clients, travel, transportation, and hospitality division back to growth numbers as well. All in all, it looked very good. We're going to be talking to the management as well. So you will get to hear from Mindtree on this platform and other platforms as well. But just that to be able to do a detailed interview, you might want to tune in for that to understand the confidence. Here's what brokerages have said. Now, remember, again, as I always say, that brokerages are always a mixed bag. I'm bringing you the positive view from Morgan Stanley. Citi has a negative view as well. Now, Morgan Stanley is saying that the target price has been raised to 2,800, given better execution and growth. They're saying that the revenue growth and margins are stronger than anticipated. Broadening growth profile and improving revenue visibility augur well for the company. Higher multiples and limited EPS estimate upgrades limit the absolute upside for Morgan Stanley. So they might have actually had more, but the multiples are higher and the EPS estimates on the upside are not too high, and which is what kind of limits Morgan Stanley's bullishness. Citi, I think, has a target price of 2,200 or 2,300, and they believe that the cash flow generation wasn't the strongest. So maybe that's a bit of a pickle. I'll be talking to the management about all of these. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Mindtree. My gut is that it might do slightly well. So let's wait and watch. Tata Metallics, revenues were down about 8.7%, but the profit was up about 26% to 97.72 crores. The pig iron realizations were very strong. The sales were up about 11% there, but the DI pipe volumes declined about 33%. So a bit of a, how do I say, decent enough thing, but between segments too, one segment did well, one did not. Revenues were down, but profit was up. Don't quite know how to look at it. Difficult for me to say how this one could react. My guess is that it will not have the best of reactions, but I could be wrong. Not as certain about Tata Metallics as I'm about Mindtree. Adani Enterprises could be in focus. They've finally taken control, management control of the Mumbai International Airport from the GVK Group, officially done. Remember, the airports division is housed under Adani Enterprises. The chairman, Gautam Adani, had said that 1 in 4 flyers in India uses an Adani airport. All of these are signs towards a probable IPO in the making from the Adani airport side, and that's more value unlocking for an Adani Enterprises shareholder. But remember, you need to be able to value the Adani Enterprises share for you to be able to make an informed call out there. So please do that. It's a very interesting story. Please do your check on the valuations. I'm not saying one way or the other, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you, if you're taking a bet on any stock, at least you should be able to do your valuation checks. So keep that in mind. Securities added to the ban list include the Sun TV. The reason I bring this up is because the security that has gone out from the ban list is very interesting. Indiabulls Housing Finance, a lot of very efficient dealer desks tell me that there is some buying that is seen in Indiabulls Housing Finance, and it was not doing well because it was in the ban list. Now it's out of the F&O ban. Could be interesting to see what happens to Indiabulls Housing Finance. A very high marquee investor is said to have bought stake in this recently. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Indiabulls Finance now that it's out of the F&O ban. A couple of very important brokerage notes that I thought I should bring to you. NMDC, remember yesterday actually it came in during market hours, but some bit of, I think the market paid attention to it maybe post-market hours, that they've decided to demerge the steel plant. Now JP Morgan has come out with a note they're neutral with the target price of 210. Edelweiss has raised the target price to 215. Somebody's kept it at 185. I'm bringing you JP Morgan. I have to bring you one. So I'm bringing you JP Morgan, the one which stood out for me. Neutral with the target price of 210. They say that the steel plant demerger positive as it limits liability from the steel plant losses. Their current fair value of 210 reflects 36 rupees per share for this value at a 50% discount to the invested value. They believe that this current market price is reflecting no equity value for the steel plant, and it should be getting that value. So interesting to see if NMDC has any reactions thereof. Credit Suisse and Aurobindo Pharma. The reason I bring up this note is because a lot of people will get enthused believing that if Credit Suisse is saying and go out and buy, and this is, of course, the numbers. So they are valuing the generic injectable business at $3.8 billion and the rest of the businesses at 15 PE. They're increasing the FY 22-23 EPS by 7 to 8%. They believe that there is high growth possible in FY 24, reflecting benefits of multiple growth drivers. I just thought that some of the points that the Credit Suisse has made in its note, with due respect to the analyst, he understands pharma much better than I do, but valuing biosimilars business, which a few people believe cannot be given a very high valuation per se, talking about the vaccine opportunities, which haven't really materialized as yet, right? They will, but who knows when? I mean, 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarters, don't quite know. So some of the assumptions made by Credit Suisse, I spoke to a couple of other pharma experts. They said that some of them are questionable. Now, will the stock react? Maybe it could. Credit Suisse is a noted house. The guy knows his stuff. So please don't get me wrong. I'm sure that the Credit Suisse analyst understands pharma way better than I do. I'm just saying that maybe some of the things were, some of the assumptions were not quite in sync with what some of the other experts are saying. But that's what makes the market. Somebody likes it, somebody doesn't. If Aurobindo Pharma reacts, you know why it is reacting. The Credit Suisse analyst, marquee name, marquee brokerage, is positive on Aurobindo Pharma. So do watch out for that one. Lastly, what stood out for me before I talk about Zomato very quickly is that the LIC IPO has got on a go ahead. That's the other big one that will happen this year. So it's a month of IPOs, and it promises to be a year of IPOs. If LIC also joins in the bandwagon, could be very, very interesting. Let's wait and watch there. Lastly, viewers, my 2 bits on Zomato, and I'll keep it to 30 seconds, right? You will read reams and reams of valuation, the positives, the negatives, the average order value, number of people ordering. All of that is great to analyze. I'll leave you with just one question. The large global investor has teams working on this, right? They have analyzed IPO, the Zomato IPO, DRHP, RHP, all the other notes, compared with global peers and everything. If there is such a beeline for the Zomato IPO from the global guy who is the sophisticated investor, you got to ask yourself, why is it, or what is it that they are seeing that we are not? If indeed you are not seeing anything out there. Yes, it's a loss-making company. Sorry, I've gone over 30 seconds. Yes, it's a loss-making company and all of those things. But the global guys are coming in. Could it be a factor of what's happening in China, which could be attracting this? Could it be a factor of getting exposure to a large Indian market, which at the early growth of the food delivery business is merely a 2-player market with Swiggy and Zomato? All of these are questions that you're going to be asking yourselves. Sometimes don't look too much at the micro. Look at the umbrella picture and try and see if you can see something that maybe others can't. Again, I'm not saying that Zomato is a sure shot winner. Maybe it will not give you listing gains. Maybe it will not make gains for some time. But I ask myself this question. Some of the sophisticated investors are seeing something in Zomato. What is it? I need to be able to find out, and so do you. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. Stay masked up if you're stepping up.